Welcome to the fantasy audiobook, Super System Plundering the Heaven. Chapter 21. It was getting late, and Yu had not caught the last bus, so Yu had to walk home, thinking in his heart, with this lesson, this Yu should stop for a while. Walking on the road, the endless stream of vehicles pulled out the streamers and intertwined into a big net, weaving the prosperity of the city at night. Quote ? Well, I see, I'll be home a little later for my self-study at school tonight. At this moment, Yu was answering the phone call from his grandfather, and suddenly his ears moved and his eyes turned to a remote alley. Quote ? Okay, Grandpa, then I hang up. Putting away the phone, Yu turned around and walked towards the alley. After Yu's body was reborn, his hearing improved a lot, and he vaguely heard a life-saving voice in the alley just now. In the dark alley, the dim street lamps brought a hint of light here. A well-built woman is being coerced by two gangsters holding daggers. Under the short hair of the woman is a delicate and pretty face. Facing the bright dagger, she looks very weak. Help, don't come here, the woman screamed and stepped back while waving the small handbag in her hand. A chubby gangster laughed when he heard the woman's cry. Don't cry, play with our brothers, you are comfortable. Another tall and thin gangster also had his eyes lit up, playing with the dagger in his hand and pointing at the woman. Beauty, if you yell again, the knife in my hand doesn't have eyes. It's you who don't have eyes. GSA, you're very daring. A clear voice sounded at the entrance of the alley, interrupting the laughter of the two gangsters. Who? The two thugs were startled, turned around suddenly, and looked at the entrance of the alley. Under the dim light, the faces of the figures looked blurry, and only the tall figure of the person could be seen leaning against the wall at the entrance of the alley. The chubby fool narrowed his eyes, looked at it for a long time, and finally saw the person coming. Student. Another tall and thin gangster also saw clearly, Yu who was wearing a school uniform. Ha ha ha, a high school student also learns from other people's heroes to save beauty. The tall and thin fool laughed, then his face sank, the corners of his mouth twitched, and he said viciously, if you don't want to die, get out now. Don't disturb Lao Su's interest. Behind the two, the woman who had been kidnapped also stopped screaming. She lost her previous panic, and looked at Yu with clear eyes. She was very curious about the hero who saved the beauty. I advise you all to do it without your hands, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. Yu looked at the two gangsters holding daggers, and said lightly. Second child, abolish him. The tall and thin fool greeted with a flickering look, then clenched his dagger and rushed out abruptly. Hearing the words, the short and fat fool raised his anger in his eyes, and with a flash of sword light, he stabbed towards Yu. Swish, jingle, what? The two thugs stopped suddenly, the dagger fell to the ground, and they both screamed. My hand. Two brand new playing cards were inserted on the backs of the two gangsters holding the knives, directly penetrating the palms, and the bright red blood was running down the playing cards, ticking to the ground. The eyes of the women behind the two thugs flickered, looking at the poker cards on the backs of the two thugs. She was shocked. What a sharp approach. What's the matter? I fought with you. The two gangsters rushed towards Yu with red eyes because of the pain. Boom, boom. Yu raised his long legs, kicked left and right, and directly kicked the two thugs to the ground, without getting up for a long time. The two thugs lying on the ground became frightened when they saw Yu approaching. Are high school students now so fierce? Don't come here. You are hurting intentionally. I want to call the police. The tall and thin gangster rolled his eyes and screamed. Yes, I want to call the police. Afraid that Yu would hurt him again, the two thugs shouted directly. Call the police. Yu almost laughed. Stop calling the police, I'm the police. The beautiful voice of the woman behind the two rang out, causing the two thugs to stand on the spot. Yu was stunned for a moment, and then reacted, his eyes flashed, so it was, no wonder the woman was a little unusually calm. You're a policeman, then why didn't you subdue them directly before? Yu looked at the beautiful policewoman and asked aloud. You wonder why I designed to arrest them? The policewoman saw Yu's doubts and said. Yu nodded and glanced at the two thugs lying on the ground. That's right, if they were two ordinary thugs, they shouldn't let you be the bait. Hearing this, the policewoman's eyes flashed, and a smile appeared on her delicate face. I didn't expect you to be so young at such a young age, but you can see it very clearly. Yi Yu pouted and said a little dejectedly, "Do I look small?" "Of course." The policewoman laughed. "Compared to my sister, you are much worse. My name is Kui Ying, a police officer of Mingzhou City Police Department. Nice to meet you, little brother." Kui Ying stretched out her hand and placed it in front of Yi Yu. Yi Yu also stretched out his hand, shook Kui Ying's fair hand, and said, "My name is Yi Yu, a student of Shangyu Middle School. It's nice to meet you too, big sister." Kui Ying took out the handcuffs and handcuffed the two thugs on the ground, and then said to Yi Yu, "It's been a little rough recently. Several young girls have disappeared for no apparent reason. Our police force designed this arrest. Who knows, they just hit the muzzle." Yi Yu nodded and looked at the two gangsters who wanted to cry without tears. Could it be that they did it? "We didn't do it, officer, we're crazy today, we really haven't done anything else." The two thugs shouted quickly, feeling a little aggrieved. "Don't take the blame for others." "What are you shouting? You are still wronged, aren't you?" Kui Ying shouted. Yi Yu did not continue to ask, because it was the secret of the police force and would definitely not tell him. Although I knew that these two gangsters were probably not the people Kui Ying was looking for, they deserved it. If they met an ordinary woman, wouldn't it be a tragedy? By the way, Yi Yu, your skills are very good, especially a hand of flying cards, which is so powerful. Kui Ying remembered the poker card Yi Yu had shot out earlier, but with a flash, it was inserted into the back of her hand. The power was truly amazing. "Ah, maybe that's the reason why I practice so often," Yi Yu said with some ambiguity. If he really told Kui Ying, he didn't use all his strength, so he couldn't scare her. Dip. Congrats to the host, the hero saves the beauty. The reward draw is once. Yi Yu was suddenly stunned, and the sound of the system sounded in his mind. What a pleasant surprise. "Yi Yu, what's wrong with you?" Seeing that Yi Yu was stunned, Kui Ying asked curiously. Yi Yu heard Kui Ying's voice and came back to his senses. "This is not the place to draw a lottery." "Oh, it's all right, I think it's very late, I'm afraid Grandpa will be in a hurry." "Okay, brother, go home quickly," Kui Ying said to Yi Yu, then took out a note from her handbag, wrote a series of numbers, and handed it to Yi Yu. "Remember my phone number, you can contact me if you have anything." Yi Yu put away the note, then waved to Kui Ying. "Goodbye, elder sister." Seeing Yi Yu walking away, Kui Ying put her finger on her ear, and said softly, "Lu, the team is closed." After a while, a group of 6 or 7 police officers in civilian clothes came out of the alley, and the leading police officer Lu Wei said to Kui Ying, "Captain, what's the situation?" Kui Ying pointed at the two thugs. "I didn't catch the big fish, but I caught 2 small loach." Lu Wei turned his head and looked at the two thugs. He happened to see the poker cards on the backs of their hands, and asked in surprise, "Captain, aren't you practicing form? How did you start playing poker?" "I didn't do it, it was a high school student who drew a knife to help." Hearing what Kui Ying said, Lu Wei was even more surprised. A high school student? Can playing cards have such power? Then he is not an ordinary person. Kui Ying recalled the situation when Yi Yu made his move, and said with a little deep meaning, "Just relying on this hand of flying cards, it is indeed not an ordinary person." "Are all young people so powerful now?" Lu Wei asked casually. "What does he look like?" Quote question mark question mark question mark. "Quite handsome. Grandpa, I'm back." Yi Yu closed the door and saw Grandpa Yi Weo bringing the hot food to the table. Yi Weo raised his head when he heard the voice. A kind smile appeared on his old face. "Xiao Yu is back, I just reheated the food, eat it quickly." After dinner, it was already more than 10 o'clock in the evening. Yi Weo was old and went to bed early. Yi Yu was lying on the bed, her mood was tumultuous, and she couldn't sleep. Today was Yi Yu's first fight. In the past, the fool who seemed to be full of suffocation, is now so vulnerable in front of him. But Brother Snake was right. Although his physical fitness was very good, he didn't know martial arts, and he didn't make a move. Otherwise, the battle would end more neatly. The 36th set of radio gymnastics. Yi Yu thought of the prize of this lottery again. Although the name is ugly, the effect is surprisingly good. If he hadn't performed this gymnastics, Yi Yu would have been beaten to the ground by Brother Snake. And the system has said that this set of radio gymnastics can also enhance physical fitness by 5 times. Jumping out of bed, Yi Yu directly performed this set of radio gymnastics in the open space in the house. Stretching exercises. Chest expansion. Jumping motion. Question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark. After the warm-up exercise, the next step is the serious action. Recalling the actions in his mind, the corner of Yu's mouth twitched. This is too perverted. Who the hell came up with the action? Can it really be done by humans? Excluding the relatively normal movements in the front, the rear is simply breaking through the limits of the human body, and even yoga masters can't do such abnormal movements. What pervert designed this action? It really drives people crazy. Yu cursed to himself, twisting his waist and turning his legs to lift his hips, and his whole body was almost twisted into a twist. The ground on which Yu was standing was already wet, and these were all sweat from Yu. With Yu's current physique, even a fast 5,000-meter long run doesn't cause sweating, but now it's just a few movements, and Yu is already wet. Snapped. Yu couldn't hold on, and fell directly to the ground, sticking out his tongue, gasping for breath, looking like he was about to hang up. After a long while, Yu recovered, lying on the ground, unwilling to move. It's finally done. It's really like dying. I'm really curious about how this Galaxy Empire promotes this radio gymnastics. Yu was lying on the ground, looking at the ceiling above his head, and muttered to himself. In fact, Yu thought it was wrong. In the Galaxy Empire, this radio gymnastics has always been a step-by-step, one movement practice. Only those who practice every day and persist for 7 or 8 years can do a full set of movements in a series, which is not like Yu, who has completed the entire movement for the first time. Fortunately, all the hardships come, and the extreme fatigue brings a greater effect of strengthening the body. A burst of heat radiated from Yu's bone marrow, and the whole body was warm, and the muscles of the whole body were relaxed, as if the whole person was soaking in the hot spring, but it was extraordinarily comfortable. Standing up, Yu twisted his waist, feeling much more flexible than before. Feeling the pain in the muscles, Yu frowned. Don't be too hasty. Now doing it once a day is the limit. But if this idea is known to the people of the Galaxy Empire, I am afraid that my jaw will drop, and I will do it every day. Just to maintain a posture will consume all the energy of an ordinary person, let alone do it all over again. Human race. Yu, first level Taoist. Physique. Spirit sword body. Number of thefts. 0 inches. Avenue value. 81 thousandths. Talent. Flying cards, super mental arithmetic. Gongfa. The 36th radio gymnastics entry level. Number of draws. 1 inch. Yu looked at the system panel in his mind. Broadcast gymnastics was already entry level. It seemed that he had to work hard and strive to reach the highest level. By then, his physical fitness would have doubled. And because this time it was not a successful hero to save the beauty, there was one more lottery draw. Yu rubbed his hands together, and it was the exciting time again. Draw, let's go. In the office building of Shangyu Middle School, a chunky middle-aged man was leaning against the window, looking out. The original straight suit was collapsed by his fat belly, and it looked extraordinarily awkward. The sparse hair was lying on the shiny head, and the big eyes were wide open, trying to show a hint of majesty. The fat-like hand held a mobile phone and pressed it against his ear. Quote question mark question mark question mark. Don't worry, nephew, isn't he a poor student? Your uncle tells him to get out of school in minutes. Quote question mark question mark question mark. No problem. How dare he beat me? Quote question mark question mark question mark. I know, it's called Yu, right? Although this greasy middle-aged man looks a little disgusting, he is indeed a well-known existence in Shangyu Middle School. Zhu Liang, director of the teaching office. Of course, he took this position not because he was outstanding, but because he had a good sister, one of the directors of Shangyu Middle School, Yan Fengyi. Zhu Liang is Yang Yu's uncle. He just finished the phone call with Yang Yu. Under Yang Yu's advice, he wanted to make trouble for Yu. Zhu Liang put down his phone and looked at the students who walked into the school one after another with a sneer at the corners of his mouth. A poor student in the mirror just wanted to turn the world upside down. Yu strolled into the campus, ignoring the female classmates who admired his appearance, and walked straight to the teaching building. Hello handsome guy, my name is Qin Cheng. Class 3, why haven't I seen you before? A very pure voice sounded in Yi Yu's ears. Yi Yu turned his head and frowned slightly. It's not that the person here is ugly, on the contrary, Qin Qing is very beautiful, with a small face the size of a palm, a thin body, especially a pair of long legs, very white. What made Yi Yu frown was the result that was automatically deduced by supermental arithmetic. Female, 18 years old, 173 centimeters tall, weighs 90 jins, has bleak measurements, scattered eyebrows, raised corners of the eyes, slightly convex cheekbones, 2.5 centimeters slits in the legs. In general, Qin Qing is a narrow-minded, non-original poor-chested person. Is something wrong? Yi Yu said lightly, looking at Qin Qing with a pure smile. Cough. Well, are you interested in making friends? After Qin Qing finished speaking, he lowered his head slightly, with a blush on his face, reached out and pulled down his skirt, trying to hide his overly exposed long legs. Not interested. After Yi Yu finished speaking, he ignored Qin Qing and walked straight forward. Wait, Qin Qing shouted from behind Yi Yu, why? I'm sorry, you have small breasts, and I don't like the ones used by others. It was as if a bolt of lightning struck Qin Qing, causing her to be stunned on the spot. After Qin Qing came back to her senses, Yi Yu had already walked away. Qin Qing clenched his fists tightly, with a look of resentment flashing in his eyes. Bah! What are you pretending to be? A poor ghost, isn't he a bit handsome? It's a pity that he's planning to use it as a spare tire. In the classroom of Class 1 of Senior 3, Yi Yu walked into the classroom. The teacher who had been noisy suddenly fell silent, and then many students began to whisper. Why is Yi Yu okay? I heard that Yang Yu told him to go to the woods. Yeah, Yang Yu is not so easy to talk. Yi Yu doesn't seem to be hurt. Hey, pretend to be a grandson. What else can I do? Maybe I lost a lot of money, maybe. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Yi Yu's eyes flashed, he ignored them, and took his seat directly. Yi Yu, I heard that Yang Yu called you to the grove yesterday. Are you all right? Han Shui, who was reviewing, saw Yi Yu approaching and asked cautiously and worriedly. Yi Yu said with a smile, it's okay, I had a friendly discussion with classmate Yang Yu, and he should not trouble me in the future. Well, that's fine, I'm still worried about you. Are you worried about my injury? Don't worry, I'm very strong. Yi Yu raised his arms and puffed out his muscles. Yi Yu, what is wrapped around your wrist? It's so beautiful. Han Shui asked curiously when she found a silver chain wrapped around Yi Yu's wrist with a small glass bottle hanging on it. This is a good thing. Yi Yu untied the chain, held the small glass bottle, and put it in front of him to watch. Aside from the delicate silver chain, the pinky thumb-sized bottle is particularly attractive. The crystal clear bottle is filled with more than half of the liquid, and there is a little bit of starlight flashing in a trance, which has an attractive magic. What the hell is this? It's really beautiful. Han Shui exclaimed as she looked at the small bottle lying quietly in Yi Yu's palm. This is called mantra potion. Han Shui lightly frowned, a little disbelieving. Mantra potion. Don't lie to me. Yi Yu laughed. I really didn't lie to you. This mantra potion can make a person speak the truth in every sentence within 1 minute. Humph. Han Shui snorted lightly. I don't believe you. Yi Yu took back the silver chain, wrapped it around his wrist again, and laughed silently. Yi Yu didn't lie to Han Shui. This is called the mantra potion, which Yi Yu got in the lottery last night. Mantra potion. Those who come into contact with the potion will definitely speak the truth within the next minute. After using it, it will take 24 hours to recollect it. This is the instruction given to Yi Yu by the system. Although it looks very simple, Yi Yu knows that this is a good thing. Just being able to let people tell the truth is definitely a weapon, and it is not sure when it will be of great use, and it is not a one-time use. System. Yi Yu called softly in his heart, and the system panel came to mind. Human race. Yi Yu, first level Taoist. Physique. Spirit sword body. Number of thefts, 1 inch. Avenue value, 81 thousandths. Talent. Flying cards, super mental arithmetic. Gongfa. The 36th set of radio gymnastics. Item. Mantra potion. Number of draws, 0 inches. There is an additional item option on the system panel, and the one shown above is the official mantra potion. Looking at the number of thefts shown above, He moved his finger and wanted to click to extract, but the class was about to start at this moment, and it was inconvenient to be surrounded by classmates, so Yu held on to his expectations. Snapped, snapped. A burst of footsteps sounded outside the classroom door, and it seemed to sound again after a pause. Yu, whose face was still pale, walked in. His eyes unconsciously turned to Yu's direction. Yu shuddered and almost sat on the ground again. It is true that the fear that Yu brought to Yu was too deep. After swallowing, Yu lowered his head and walked to his seat, no longer the arrogant attitude of holding his head high in the past. Yo, Yu, didn't you feel uncomfortable yesterday, or did I call the ambulance for you? It'll be all right so soon. Yu looked at the silent Yu and said with a smile. Quote ? It's been a long time, thank you so much. Yu shook his body, lowered his eyes, and blocked the resentment in his eyes. What a shame. Sooner or later I will get my revenge. Yu's anger seemed to be burning up, but he didn't dare to show it to Yu, he was afraid. Yu saw Yu's unwillingness and resentment, and knew that he would not admit defeat so easily, but it is best to be prepared to pay the price. Bell. The class bell rang, and English teacher Wu Shanchun walked into the classroom with a stack of thick test papers. Putting the test paper on the lecture table, the English teacher tapped the table with his fingers. Benedict, English test today. Everyone put away your books. Whoa. All the classmates emptied their desks, and no one dared to put relevant materials on the desks, because although Shangyu Middle School is a private high school, it has always been very strict with studying, especially for students who cheat, and the punishment is even more severe. Yu frowned as soon as he heard it was an English test, because his English proficiency was really poor. In fact, Yu's English proficiency is okay for the average person, but it's a matter of comparison. The students in Shangyu Middle School are not bad, and there are more tutors and tutoring classes than anyone else. But Yu doesn't have these foundations, so compared to his classmates, his English level is really not high. Because of this, Yu was especially reluctant to face the English test, because this English was really at the bottom of the list, and every time the result was lower. However, Yu's grades in other subjects were very good, which made English become outstanding, which was really embarrassing. Yu, who was on Yu's side, glanced around from the corner of his eye, saw Yu's slightly worried brows, and became excited. It turns out that he is really not good at English. Yu was certain in his heart, then his eyes became hot, and there was a sinister smile on the corner of his mouth. This time, I want you to get out of Shangyu Middle School. Boom. Among the teachers in Class 1 of Senior 3, English teacher Wu Shanchun patted the table. Okay, students, it's time, hand in the test papers, the results will be out in the afternoon. Seeing Wu Shanchun walking out holding the test paper, Yu breathed a sigh of relief. For Yu, every English test was like the execution ground. Haha, Yu, you seem to be very afraid of the English test. Are you afraid of failing the test? Han Shui asked amusingly when she saw that Yu was obviously relaxed. Yeah, you also know that my English grades are not good. How about, Han Shui tilted her head, looked at Yu, and blinked playfully, how about I help you with tutoring? Yu thought about it seriously, I don't want it anymore. I'm already so handsome. If studying is still so good, how can other people live? Ha. Han Shui was instantly amused, holding her pink fist, she tapped Yu, how can you be so stinky? I'm already very low-key, otherwise I'll show you a full score in the English test every minute. HMPH. I don't believe it. Han Shui glanced at her mouth and said softly. Do not believe. Soon you will believe it. Yu, who was sitting not far from Yu, muttered in his heart. A cold smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and glanced at Yu with a playful corner of his eye. But at this moment, Yu didn't discover Yu's hidden conspiracy, and was getting up and going out to find a place where no one could get it, because the number of thefts today had not been used yet. Yu walked to a corner of the teaching building, looked left and right, no one came, and started today's theft. System, start stealing. The familiar splendid light circle appeared in front of Yu, raised his right hand and penetrated directly. This is a very spacious room with white walls on all sides, and the ground is as clean as new, without a trace of dust. Although it is clean, it looks a bit messy because of the various strange shaped instruments. A chubby old man in a white coat was shuttling in front of various instruments, observing carefully. Dr. Lee, where are you, Dr. Lee? A small figure pushed in and stood at the door. The visitor looked 7 or 8 years old, with a dark blue suit on the upper body, sports shorts underneath, a pair of sneakers, and a pair of large framed eyes, shouting anxiously. Is it Conan? I'm here. Hearing the voice at the door, Dr. A. Lee said aloud while looking at the words flashing on the screen. Dr. A. Lee, have you made the glasses I asked you to make? Conan walked to Dr. A. Lee's side and asked while looking at the busy doctor. Glasses. Dr. Lee reached out and touched his bald forehead, and suddenly realized, oh. It's that, it's been made a long time ago. I'll find it for you. After speaking, Dr. Lee got up and rummaged on the workbench behind him. Whoa, whoa. Dr. Lee rummaged on the workbench several times, but still couldn't find the glasses that Conan wanted. Huh, it's so strange, I clearly put it here. Why did it disappear? Dr. Lee looked at the more cluttered workbench and said in surprise. Conan on the side stood on tiptoe, looking at the workbench with piles of debris, black lines all over his head. Dr. Lee, you won't lose it. Hearing this, Dr. Lee smiled awkwardly. Haha, maybe I really lost it. Seeing that Conan was a little unhappy, Dr. Lee hurriedly said, Conan, don't worry, I just made a spare one, but it's not too delicate. In the end, Conan reluctantly walked out of Dr. A. Lee's laboratory wearing a pair of ugly glasses. Dr. Lee sent Conan away, turned his head to look at the workbench, and thought, how strange, he was still there just now, why did he disappear in a blink of an eye? At the corner of the quiet staircase, Yi Yu withdrew his right hand, and the brilliant aperture closed immediately. Is this a pair of glasses? Yi Yu flipped through the items in his hands. The smooth mirror surface and the slender frame looked very delicate and handsome. Although this pair of glasses is very handsome, Yi Yu is a little disappointed. Shouldn't he have gotten ordinary glasses? Isn't it a waste of time to steal them? Dip. Congratulations to the host for successfully stealing, and increase the avenue value by 50 points. Hearing the sound of the system in his head, Yi Yu looked forward to it again. With 50 Dao points, these glasses should be unusual. System, what glasses are these? Yi Yu asked curiously. From the world of Detective Conan, Dr. A. Lee's carefully crafted glasses are black tech glasses that integrate tracking and navigation, red light and telephoto, micro-indentation, language translation, photography and video. Cool and handsome. Yi Yu was stunned. He's amazing, my Dr. Lee. Whether to extract spirituality. The system's voice then rang. Yi Yu did not hesitate to click on the extraction. Dip. The proposal is successful. Congratulations to the host for his talent, language master. A stream of light rose from the glasses and disappeared into Yi Yu's mind. After a while, Yi Yu opened his eyes and there was a flash of light. Language master. Proficient in various languages, it can be called a humanoid self-propelled translator. Yi Yu was stunned for a moment. What a domineering introduction. Wearing this new pair of glasses, Yi Yu returned to the classroom happily, and I have to say that this is indeed a pair of arrogant black tech glasses. Ha, Yi Yu, where did you buy the glasses? They are very stylish, Han Shui asked curiously, looking at the new glasses Yi Yu was wearing. The same style as Conan, as a gift from Dr. A. Lee. Yi Yu stretched out his hand and pushed the frame on the bridge of his nose, and said with a smile. Bell. The class bell rang in the afternoon. English teacher Wu Shanchun re-entered the classroom, put a stack of test papers on the desk, and said with a smile, this time the students have achieved good grades, especially Yi Yu, who has made great progress. It's a perfect score. Wow, perfect marks. Yi Yu's usual passing grades are full marks this time. No, it's a big improvement. Isn't it copied? Hearing that Yi Yu got a perfect score in the test, the classmates started to talk about it. Some were envious, some were jealous, but most of them didn't believe it. However, Han Shui knew that Yi Yu didn't cheat at all. Although she was surprised that Yi Yu got a perfect score, she was really happy for Yi Yu. Yi Yu, you really didn't lie to me. It's really a perfect score every minute. How did you take the test? Hearing Han Shui's surprised voice, Yi Yu's mouth twitched. I also wanted to know how I took the test. Recalling his answer at that time, thanks to the amazing memory and computing ability now, coupled with the talent skill language master, Yu knew that he was definitely not a perfect score. With a twinkle in his eyes, Yu knew that there was someone calculating at this time, but then Yu felt relieved. With a language master, English became a pediatric subject, and this conspiracy was doomed to fail. Yu is cheating. A loud shout sounded in the class, suppressing the voices of the classmates. The surrounding students all looked in the direction of the voice. It was Yang Yu. Yang Yu stood up slowly, facing the gazes around him. Yang Yu repeated disdainfully, Yu is cheating. He is not a perfect score at all. The air was silent for a while, then erupted. Cheating. Does Yu really dare to cheat? This punishment is very heavy. I said, how did he get full marks? It turned out to be cheating, shameless. That's right, he should be punished severely for cheating. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Yang Yu really shocked 3,000 waves with one word, and the students around him condemned Yu one after another. Yu's eyes were cold and expressionless, but Han Shui on the side was about to cry. You bullshit. Yu didn't cheat. Han Shui anxiously defended her accusing classmates, and then looked at Yang Yu, who was full of pride, and shouted angrily, Yang Yu. Why do you say Yu cheated? Why? Yang Yu squinted at Yu and said disdainfully, it's just that you got a perfect score. Boom, boom, boom. Seeing that the classroom had turned into a pot of porridge, English teacher Wu Shanshan stood on the podium and patted the table fiercely. Quiet, all quiet. The classmates who were discussing stopped one after another, and looked at Yu, who was still not changing his face, showing gloating eyes. Yang Yu, do you have any evidence that Yu cheated in the exam? This is not a trivial matter. Wu Shanshan looked at Yang Yu deeply and said in a deep voice. Of course I have evidence. Yang Yu sneered at the corner of his mouth. I saw Yu's answer sheet when I was handing in the final papers. Yang Yu turned his head to look at Yu. The pride and arrogance on his face could hardly be concealed. As far as I can see, Yu has already got several questions wrong. Question 15 should have been A, but he did B, the first. After Yang Yu finished speaking, the surrounding classmates were silent for a while, and then began to whisper. Yang Yu is right, these questions are indeed Yu's mistakes. Yeah, Yu made a mistake, must choose C for question 23. Look. This is the original title. Yu really did it wrong. Hey, why did I choose the same as Yu? This classmate's English proficiency was also limited. Listening to the discussions of the surrounding classmates, Yang Yu looked at Yu proudly, like a general who had returned triumphantly. Yu, what else do you have to say? Ha ha. Yu chuckled lightly and shook his head. I have nothing to say. Wow. When the classmates heard what Yu said, there was an uproar in the classroom, and the eyes that looked at Yu were all contemptuous. Han Shui's face turned pale for a while, then her eyes lit up, and she said anxiously, wait. Yang Yu, according to what you said, Yu did something wrong. How can he get full marks? It must be a wrong judgment. It's not Yu cheating. Quote. After Han Shui finished speaking, she took a few quick breaths and looked at her classmates and English teacher expectantly. Yeah, if you cheat, you can definitely get the question right. If you're wrong. Well, is it that Yu didn't cheat? Is it wrong? The surrounding classmates also reacted, and Wu Shanshan also frowned and looked down at Yu's test paper. Seeing the changes in her classmates and teachers, Han Shui's face became better, and she continued, I'm sitting next to Yu, so I can guarantee that Yu didn't cheat. It must be a mistake in the calculation of the question. Yu glanced at Yang Yu. His eyes flashed. It seemed that the lesson from last time was not enough. When Yang Yu heard Han Shui's rebuttal, not only was he not disappointed, but the smile on the corner of his mouth deepened. He raised his head, and looked like he was holding a juju. Cough cough. Yang Yu cleared his throat. This is Yu's genius. You know, cheating is not necessarily during the exam, but can also be cheated after the exam. Mr. Wu, you should have seen Yu's test paper. Did you find anything? Yang Yu asked with a smile, looking at Wu Shanshan and looking down at Yu's test paper. After a long while, Wu Shanshan raised his head and looked at Yu with complicated eyes. Yu's test paper is correct. You really should get full marks. Wow. Hearing Wu Shanshan say this, the teacher was like a drop of water in a pot of hot oil, and it exploded completely. Well, What's going on here? Yeah, I don't understand at all. Many classmates didn't know, so they couldn't figure out whether Yu was cheating or the question was wrong. Could it be that after Yu passed the exam, he could not pass the exam by secretly changing the exam papers? Some classmates exclaimed and called out. Everyone, listen to me. Yu waved his hand, suppressed the discussions of his classmates, and said aloud, Yu answered the question wrong, but now the test paper is indeed full marks, so there is only one truth. Yu stretched out a finger and continued. Yu took advantage of the recess to change the test papers and tampered with the answers. Yu turned around suddenly, staring at Yu with a burning gaze, his eyes flashing with pleasure. Tell us, where are you during recess? Tell me why we didn't see you during recess. Yu looked at Yu with clear eyes, met his eyes full of fun and viciousness, and said indifferently, no comment. As soon as Yu gritted his teeth, he secretly hated that Yu was still indifferent until now, and he became more and more angry in his heart, swearing that Yu's disguised face would be torn apart. Of course you have no comment. Because you were in the office at the time and were secretly changing your exam papers. The surrounding classmates looked at Yu with disbelief, and all eyes that contained shock and contempt fell on Yu. How is this possible? There must be something wrong. Yu will not cheat. Han Shui heard the words, her face turned pale, and her body began to shake. Relax. Yu put his hand on Han Shui's thin shoulder and comforted her softly. Don't worry, the matter is not yet finalized. Han Shui's face finally improved. She nodded, she firmly believed that Yu would not cheat. Yu looked at Yu and Han Shui, angry at Yu's indifference, and even more angry that Han Shui was so worried and trusted in Yu. Yu is now a mountain of ironclad evidence, you still don't admit it. Yu pointed at Yu and shouted loudly. Yu ignored the mad dog like Yu, but looked up at Wu Shanshan. Mr. Wu, do you think so too? Wu Shanshan looked at Yu with complicated eyes, and after a long while he said, I don't believe you will cheat either, but it's the truth now. Yu, do you have anything else to say? Oh, it seems that you don't believe me either. Yu's eyes were cold and he said firmly, I didn't cheat. Cheating? Who cheated? A shrill, Drake-like voice came in from the door. Everyone turned their heads and saw a squat, greasy middle-aged man squeezed in at the door, with sparse hair lying on his shiny forehead, which was extraordinarily funny. But no one dared to laugh, because of his identity, the dean, Zhu Liang. Director Zhu, why are you here? Wu Shanshan took the lead to greet him. Director Zhu. Many students stood up and greeted this pretentious dean. I heard that someone cheated. What the hell is going on? Zhu Liang asked in an official tone, pinching the male duck's voice. Uncle, Director Zhu, it's like this, Yu cheated in the English test, Yu saw Zhu Liang come in, and quickly stepped forward, pointed at Yu, and told what happened just now. Zhu Liangdu's big eyes flashed, and he turned to look at Yu, with mockery hidden in his eyes. Student Yu, this is your fault. If you dare to cheat, you must dare to admit it. Oh, pig. Director, how do you tell me to admit to something I haven't done? Yu sneered at the corner of his mouth, looking at Zhu Liang. The last actor had already arrived, and this farce should end. Ha! Zhu Liang snorted and screamed, Yu. What are you talking about? The iron evidence is like a mountain, you still know your fault. Don't you miss it? We, Shangyu Middle School, should get rid of the black sheep like you. Quote. This. Wu Shanshan on the side hesitated for a while, and next to Zhu Liang, he whispered, Director Zhu, is it too severe to punish Yu from the school? Heavy. What is heavier? Zhu Liang continued to scream, such a person will be punished heavily. Expulsion from school. Han Shui's head hummed, if Yu was kicked out of school, his future would be over. The frightened Han Shui clenched Yu's sleeves tightly, anxiously looking around, wanting to speak up to defend Yu. Yu felt the fright in Han Shui's heart, and his heart warmed. He stretched out his hand to hold her little hand full of cold sweat, and comforted her softly, relax, there is me. Kick me out of Shangyu Middle School. Yu glanced at the proud Yu and Zhu Liang who blushed with anger. Is this your purpose? How childish and ridiculous. This kind of black sheep should be expelled from the school as soon as possible. Yu looked at Yu with a triumphant look on his face, and his eyes were filled with the pleasure of revenge. Yi Yu, so what if you can fight? You're not obediently being kicked out of Shangyu Middle School. Yang Yu was very proud at the moment. He folded his arms and looked at Yi Yu with contempt, looking forward to seeing Yi Yu crying and begging bitterly. Facing Yang Yu's contempt, Zhu Liang's disdain, and a look of contempt from his classmates, Yi Yu did not show the panicked expression that Yang Yu expected. Yi Yu didn't panic at all at this moment, but raised his wrist indifferently and pushed the glasses on the bridge of his nose. A large drop of crystal water followed. Yi Yu raised his wrist and scattered on Zhu Liang's body. No one noticed except Yi Yu. Seeing that the water drops fell on Zhu Liang's body and quickly merged into Zhu Liang's body, Yi Yu's mouth curled into a smile. If I really cheat, then I don't need you to rush, I just walk out of the school gate, but what if I don't cheat? Yang Yu is now sitting firmly on the Daoyutai, watching Yi Yu still, resisting stubbornly. He couldn't help sneering, haha. If you didn't cheat, then I'll eat all the test papers. Yi Yu glanced at the high stack of test papers on the lecture table, and chuckled, I wish you a good appetite. Yang Yu pointed at Yi Yu, his face turned pale and speechless. Yang Yu, who jumped in anger, Yi Yu asked Zhu Liang directly, did I really cheat? Zhu Liang showed an icy smile, with excitement flashing in his eyes, and said loudly, of course there is no cheating. Wow. The students who were watching the lively all around were quiet for a while, and then they started talking. Director Zhu just said that Yi Yu didn't cheat. Yeah, could I be wrong? What the hell is going on here? Yang Yu's body trembled. He stepped forward quickly, took Zhu Liang's arm, and said in a low voice, Uncle. Do you know what you're talking about? Only now did Zhu Liang realize what he had said. His face panicked, and he quickly continued, you really didn't cheat. Zhu Liang's eyes were frightened. What's going on? I clearly didn't think so in my heart. How can you tell the truth? Yi Yu didn't cheat. No cheating. Zhu Liang repeated several times, and the words he said were actually the same. Looking at the doubtful eyes of the students around him, and Yi Yu's clear eyes like a deep pool, Zhu Liang had a bad premonition in his heart. This. Zhu Liang's face flushed in a hurry, not daring to speak. Just when Yi Yu raised his wrist, he had already sprinkled the real eye drops on Zhu Liang's body. Yi Yu had previously determined that all this was premeditated by Yang Yu and Zhu Liang, and now using the mantra potion on Zhu Liang is to tell him everything. Glancing at the students who were full of doubts, Yi Yu raised a sharp aura, pressing them to lower their heads. Tell me, what the hell is going on? Yi Yu pressed his momentum towards Zhu Liang and asked sharply. Zhu Liang wanted to shut his mouth, but the power of the mantra potion made him say everything. You didn't cheat, someone changed your test paper. Who? Yi Yu asked immediately, not giving Zhu Liang and Yang Yu time to react. It's me. Hearing Zhu Liang's answer, all the classmates around were boiling, and then they all felt guilty. They had despised Yi Yu before, but it turned out that they had misunderstood Yi Yu. Yi Yu's eyes flashed coldly, staring at Zhu Liang. Why did you do this? Don't. Yang Yu stretched out his hand, trying to stop Zhu Liang and stop him from continuing, but it was too late. It's because of my nephew that Yang Yu wants to frame you and frame you to get revenge on you. I want to expel you from Shangyu Middle School so that I can occupy Han Shui. That's why I did it. It's over. Yang Yu slumped on the seat, his face pale. It was a complete defeat. Zhu Liang was sweating profusely at the moment, covering his mouth with his hands, his face flushed red, and his eyes were full of horror. Haha, now that the truth is revealed, please also ask Director Zhu to tell me, where is my real test paper? Yi Yu said, looking at Zhu Liang who was terrified. In my office drawer, huh. Although Zhu Liang covered his mouth with both hands, he still couldn't help answering Yi Yu's question. A minute later, Zhu Liang's body was shaken, and he suddenly found that he could control himself, let go of his covered mouth, and took a few breaths. Devil, you are a devil, Zhu Liang murmured, then turned and ran out of the classroom. Chapter 31. Zhu Liang escaped, leaving only the English teacher Wu Shanchun, and the students from the first class of the third grade, surrounding Yi Yu. In addition, Yang Yu, who was slumped on the seat with a pale face, seemed to be stupid. Yi Yu, I'm sorry, as your teacher, I didn't firmly believe in you. It's my fault. English teacher Wu Shanchun was the first to break the peace and bowed deeply towards Yi Yu. Mr. Wu, you don't have to do this. Yi Yu stepped forward and helped Wu Shanchun. This is all a conspiracy by Zhu Liang and Yang Yu, and you interceded for me earlier, so I should thank you. Hearing what Yi Yu said, Wu Shanchun also laughed, looked at Yi Yu sincerely and said, "It is my pride to have a student like you." Yi Yu, I knew that you didn't cheat. Han Shui's face flushed with excitement, her eyes lit up at Yi Yu, and she pulled Yi Yu's arm involuntarily. Thank you, Han Shui, you have always believed in me. Yi Yu looked at Han Shui softly and said. Yeah, Han Shui blushed, lowered her head, and hummed softly, even her delicate white neck was stained with pink. The students around were also blushing with shame. You pushed me, I pushed you, and I said to Yi Yu, I'm sorry, classmate Yi Yu, we misunderstood you before, and now I apologize to you. Yi Yu looked around at the classmates who were bowing their heads, looking apologetic and ashamed, was silent for a moment, and then laughed. Okay, all of you are classmates, you are still young, I hope that in the future, you will not follow others' opinions and have your own judge call. Hearing that Yi Yu forgave him generously, the classmates breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Yi Yu with admiration. By the way, Yi Yu, I'll go get your test paper. A classmate exclaimed and ran out of the classroom. Da da da. A series of footsteps sounded, and soon, the classmate just now took a test paper and ran in excitedly. Yi Yu, I got your test paper back. Wu Shanchun stretched out his hand to take the test paper and said with a smile, give it to me, I'll judge the question again and see how many points Yi Yu got. 87 points. Yi Yu glanced at his test paper, and then said, this is the real score. Wu Shanchun and the classmates around were surprised. You haven't judged the question yet, how do you know how many points? Yi Yu looked at Han Shui and asked softly, do you remember what I told you? Han Shui tilted her head and said uncertainly, you said, you can get full marks in minutes. Yi Yu nodded, a perfect score is nothing, it mainly depends on whether I want to take the exam or not. Under the astonished eyes of everyone, Yi Yu continued, multiple choice question 3, SS Honestito. Choose A, question 7. Close question, Foreigny, finding, reading comprehension question, a month before. A series of standard and fluent spoken words flowed out of Yi Yu's mouth, making Wu Shanchun and his classmates stunned. After Yi Yu finished speaking for a long time, everyone came back to their senses. What Yi Yu said just now was the wrong question in his test paper. Wu Shanchun and the surrounding classmates were speechless in shock. Everything Yi Yu said is right. It's not bad at all. The whole test paper is actually repeated. No, it should be said that these questions are too easy for Yi Yu, no wonder he can know how many points he has scored in advance. This is the most terrifying. You can test as many points as you want. And didn't you find out? Yi Yu's spoken language is like a master. Wu Shanchun finally exclaimed in shock, looking at Yi Yu with envy in his eyes. So you didn't lie to me. Han Shui looked at Yi Yu with bright eyes, you can really control your test scores. You're hiding so deeply. Your English grades were so bad. It turned out to be intentional. It's too much. Wu Shanchun pretended to blame. Yi Yu coughed dryly, and could only sigh inwardly, the language master's talent is really awesome. It's all Yang Yu's fault, we almost misunderstood Yi Yu. Some classmates complained. That's right, and that Zhu Liang, as the dean, he actually did something shameless. Who made him Yang Yu's uncle? It's really a nest of snakes and mice. All the students turned their attention to Yang Yu, and all looked at him with contempt. Yang Yu had come to his senses at this moment, but he still dared to look at Yi Yu, wishing that everyone would ignore him. Looking at the disdainful eyes of the classmates, Yang Yu found that everything had been turned upside down, and instead of Yi Yu, he became the object of everyone's contempt. But remembering his own support, Yang Yu stood up and shouted in a stern voice, look, what to look at? My mother is the school administrator. Yang Yu, it seems that you forgot our friendly discussion yesterday. Do you want me to remind you? Yi Yu's eyes were like swords, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth, staring at Yang Yu, who was strong outside and hard at the same time. Yang Yu's head buzzed, and he recalled the fear of being dominated by Yi Yu yesterday. After a Cold War, Yang Yu's tone was weak, his body shrank, and he whispered, You, what do you want? Yi Yu pointed to the stack of test papers on the lecture table, have you forgotten what you said before? Classmates remind Yang Yu. All the classmates looked at Yi Yu with admiration, and then looked at the weak Yang Yu, and instantly felt that in front of Yi Yu, Yang Yu was a scum. Eat it, a male student shouted excitedly. Eat it, eat it. The surrounding students shouted in unison. Yang Yu's face was pale, and he looked at the thick stack of test papers on the lecture table in fear, and moved his feet tremblingly. Hiss. Yang Yu grabbed the top test paper with full marks, tore off a corner tremblingly, and put it in his mouth. Bah, Yi Yu, I won't let you go. I'll let my mother fire you. Yang Yu spat out the exam paper he was chewing, gave Yi Yu a fierce look, then pushed the crowd away and ran out. Bah, no seed, I didn't expect him to be such a person. Shameless. Don't dare to do it. It's a shame to go to my mother. The classmates despised Yang Yu when he saw the figure of Yang Yu running away in embarrassment. Yi Yu is still a good classmate. She is handsome and talented. She is a perfect match for our goddess Han Shui. A beautiful girl looked at Han Shui enviously and envied her standing next to Yi Yu. Yes, yes, previously, Han Shui stood firmly on Yi Yu's side. Together, a classmate rolled his eyes and shouted. The rest of the classmates also laughed and shouted in unison, together, together. Oops. Han Shui heard the shouts of her classmates, covered her blushing face with her hands, and stomped her feet. Okay, classmates. Seeing that Han Shui was really shy, Yi Yu stopped them from booing. Okay, let's go to class, don't waste our precious class time for Yang Yu. Everyone crowded around Yi Yu, as if the stars were holding the moon, and they all returned to their seats and started the class. Yi Yu. Han Shui sat on the seat, stretched out her foot and kicked Yi Yu lightly, and said in a low voice, what the classmates said just now, don't take it to heart. Yi Yu turned his head and looked at Han Shui with a chuckle. What did the classmates say? Han Shui's blushing face hadn't recovered yet. Hearing Yi Yu's words, her delicate little ears turned red again. Oh, that's right, we're together. Yi Yu blinked, looked at Han Shui and said, what if I'm serious? Han Shui's delicate body was shocked. Looking at Yi Yu, the seductive blush gradually faded on her delicate face, and the only thing left was pale, and the crystal tears were about to fall. Okay, I said the wrong thing, don't be angry, okay. Yi Yu looked at Han Shui, who looked like a frightened deer, and said softly. Han Shui shook her head, the tears in her eyes finally flowed down, biting her lips. It's none of your business, it's my fault, don't ask. Yi Yu opened his mouth, but in the end he didn't ask any further, but he secretly decided in his heart, Han Shui, I won't give up. Bell. The bell rang for the class, and the physical education teacher, who had seen the dragon all day long, walked into the classroom. Students, in this physical education class, gather on the playground. Xing Meng, dressed in sportswear, leaned against the door of the classroom and said to the surprised classmates. Don't be surprised. It's a sports meeting in a few days, and I'm not sick, so it's rare for your main teacher to let me come to class. Seeing that the classmates were very surprised by his arrival, Xing Meng said with a smile. Oh, hooray! The students were silent for a moment, then cheered. Of course, if you don't want to go, you can study by yourself in the class. After Xing Meng finished speaking, he turned and walked out of the classroom. Yi Yu stood up, and just wanted to leave, but found that Han Shui was sitting in the seat and had no intention of getting up. Han Shui, aren't you going to gym class? Han Shui shook her head and glanced at Yi Yu with complicated eyes. Go ahead, I'm not feeling well today, I'm studying by myself in the classroom. Yi Yu was startled, knowing that Han Shui's good friends should be here. Okay. Then you should rest more. Han Shui nodded, watched Yi Yu walk out of the classroom, and then took out her mobile phone. Quote ? Do, Mom, why can't I fall in love? ? It has nothing to do with study, with my grades, it is enough to be admitted to any university. ? Well, I'll ask Dad. Quote, Han Shui put down her phone, her eyes flashed with unwillingness, then she looked at Yi Yu's figure outside the window downstairs, and sighed. On the playground, Xing Meng looked at the excited classmates and said with a smile, if you want to participate in the sports meeting, you can sign up with me. Now let's exercise freely. The classmates rarely had time to relax, so after Xing Meng finished speaking, they all dispersed happily and went to play separately. Yi Yu stood on the track, ready to test the 100-meter performance. Since the rebirth, Yi Yu has not yet felt where the limits of his body are, and this time he just experienced it. Yi Yu bent over and stared at a distance of 100 meters, without using a stopwatch to calculate. Your super mental arithmetic is much more accurate than any stopwatch. Whoosh! Yi Yu kicked the ground with his right leg and rushed out. The classmates around looked at Yi Yu's fast running figure, secretly surprised. This is too fast. Swish! Yi Yu stopped and reached a distance of 100 meters. Feeling the beating heart, Yi Yu was also a little surprised. In the rapid 100-meter sprint, Yi Yu's heart beat slightly faster, and his breathing didn't speed up. 8 seconds 13. Through mental arithmetic, Yi Yu clearly knew his speed, far exceeding the level of the world's top athletes. Wow, Yi Yu, you made 9 seconds in the 100-meter sprint. You seem to be faster than the top athletes. The classmates in the class saw Yi Yu stop and gathered around, surprised at the speed at which Yi Yu burst out. Yi Yu shook his head and said aloud, "It's still a long way off." Yi Yu was right. Although his speed was faster than that of top athletes, Yi Yu knew that the strongest in the world was not only that. Taking Brother Snake as an example, his previous escape speed was much faster than Yi Yu's, and he was still in snakeskin, and his speed was much faster than those of the athletes. And when they fight, the afterimages that appear between their shots show that their ability to explode in an instant is even more amazing. Yi Yu knew that he was only physically better than ordinary people, and had not yet reached the level of a warrior. Warriors are the most terrifying people. The world is big, and it's getting better and better. Thinking about the 7th grade martial artist mentioned by Brother Snake, Yi Yu's eyes were like a dazzling obsidian, shining with a dazzling luster. Look, it's the Yangfang dance from the 3rd class. Wow, it's the Valkyrie. Class 3 also joins us in physical education class, which is a blessing. It's really hot. In the sports area of the 1st class, all the boys turned their heads to the other side and looked at another field on the playground. Yi Yu turned to look over, and was instantly attracted by a tall figure. Different from Han Shui's holiness and beauty, this 3-class woman named Yan Fengwu is hot and wild. Different temperament, but all beautiful to the extreme. If Han Shui is a secluded orchid growing on a cliff, then Yan Fengwu is a wild horse galloping on the grassland. Come on, let's take a look. Yi Yu followed the enthusiastic male classmates to the training area of Class 3 and carefully looked at this wild beauty, codenamed Valkyrie. Instead of wearing the uniform of Shangyu Middle School, she was wearing slim sportswear, which perfectly set off her slender body. His long hair was combed into a ponytail and hung down around his waist. The water chestnuts are distinct and the facial features are very three-dimensional, which looks extraordinarily heroic. The slender limbs looked very powerful, and the tall body was a head taller than the rest of the classmates, almost approaching the 1.8-meter Yi Yu. At this moment, Yan Fengwu is standing on the high-jumping field, with a pair of dark eyes staring eagerly at the high bar. Like a cheetah staring at its prey and galloping fast, Yan Fengwu's slender and powerful thighs kicked the ground, and her body jumped high, drawing a beautiful arc, flying over the crossbar and smashing on the cushion. Wow, this height is almost 2 meters, right? It jumped over in one fell swoop. It's about to break the record. One of Yi Yu's classmates cried out in shock, feeling a little dizzy looking at the high bar. A male classmate from Class 3 next to him gave him a disdainful glance. What is this? Yan Fengwu's 100-meter sprint just now has been tied for the record. If Fengwu didn't participate in the sports meeting, it would have been hers in the first place. This classmate of Yi Yu was a little angry at his contemptuous eyes, and said with a stubborn neck, "That's not as good as Yi Yu. His 100-meter speed just now was faster than the world record." Yi Yu's classmates just watched Yi Yu's 100-meter sprint, but they didn't know the specific results, but they were provoked by the boys in the 3rd class and said it directly. "Break the world record." The boys in Class 3 laughed. "Are you dreaming? Really, it's faster than her anyway." The boys in the 1st class pointed to Yan Fengwu and said loudly. Before waiting for the boys in the 3rd class to speak, Yan Fengwu heard these words, her eyes flashed, and she walked to the front of the class of boys. "Yi Yu, is he running faster than me?" Yan Fengwu looked at this group of boys, looking at him condescendingly, with eager eyes and a strong aura. Under the gaze of Yan Fengwu, The boys in the first class shrank their eyes, looked at Yu unconsciously, and said in a low voice, yes, anyway, I look quite fast. Yan Fengwu followed the boy's line of sight and saw Yu who was standing quietly beside her, her eyes twinkling, are you Yu? Yu looked at the attractive girl with amazing aura, and said softly, yes, I am Yu. Yan Fengwu looked Yu up and down for a moment, and then asked suspiciously, how much did you score in 100 meters? If your result is a world record, then I am indeed a little faster than you. Yan Fengwu heard the words, her eyes were hot, but her eyes were even more eager. She stepped forward and stared at Yu, how about a comparison? Yu looked at the woman named Yan Fengwu in front of him, a little headache, so strong. The healthy wheat complexion did not lower her score, but added a wild beauty. Beneath the slender brows like blades were fiery eyes, the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and he looked at Yu with an aggressive aura. What, don't you dare? Yan Fengwu asked provocatively when Yu didn't answer. Yu looked at this girl exuding wild beauty and laughed, why don't you dare? On the wide plastic runway, Yu and Yan Fengwu stood side by side, looking at each other as if there were electric lights flickering. Preparation. The two of them leaned over and bent over, getting ready. Run. Yu and Yan Fengwu dashed forward like two arrows from the string. Yu glanced at Yan Fengwu, who was flying around him, and deliberately did not look at the turbulent waves. He was amazed. 10.5 meters in 1 second, although it is not as good as myself, it is far beyond ordinary people. As everyone knows, Yan Fengwu's heart is even more shocked. The handsome boy next to him, whether it is speed or physical coordination, must surpass himself. Yan Fengwu has a physical quality and athletic talent that far exceeds her peers since she was a child. She loves sports, and as she grows older, this talent becomes stronger. It can be said that in terms of sports, she is not afraid of anyone. Especially after following Xingmeng and learning Bajiquan, his speed and strength have grown by leaps and bounds. Although he is not a first-rank martial artist, it is not far behind. I can't catch up with him. Yan Fengwu's eyes were fiery, looking at Yu's back, her burning gaze seemed to melt him. Swish. Yu and Yan Fengwu stopped one after another, stunned the students who were watching. I'm going, is Yu in the first class so fierce? 8 seconds 03. A timed classmate in the third class exclaimed. Yan Fengwu also has 9 seconds 35, not much worse than him. Look, I just said that Yan Fengwu is not as good as Yu. The classmates in the first class were complacent and seemed even happier than they were running so fast. Yu ignored the shocked classmates around him, but immersed himself in his mind. Drip. Squeeze the heroic female, and reward a lottery draw once. Human race. Yu, first level Taoist. Physique. Spirit sword body. Number of thefts. 0 inches. Avenue value. 131 thousandths. Talent. Flying cards, super mental math, language master. Gongfa. The 36th set of radio gymnastics. Items. Mantra potion, Conan same glasses. Number of draws. 1 inch. Huh. Can this be a lottery? Maybe something else. Yu looked at Yan Fengwu as if looking at a treasure. It seems that you are still a little short. Yan Fengwu didn't have any depression, but her eyes were excited. She calmed down her chest that was more elevated due to her panting, and the corners of her mouth were raised, revealing snow-white teeth, something else. Yu looked at Yan Fengwu, who refused to admit defeat, and seemed even happier than her. Come again. Yu and Yan Fengwu came to the high jump venue, ready to compete in the high jump. Sister Yan, do you still use 2 meters? The third class asked Yan Fengwu. Turn to 2 meters 5. Yan Fengwu glanced at Yu provocatively. Yu raised his brows and chuckled, 2 meters 6. Hiss. The classmates around took a deep breath, this is too crazy. Numbers like never before. Yan Fengwu first glanced at Yu in amazement, then nodded, it's only 2 meters 6. As the bars were placed, Yan Fengwu took a few steps back, moving her hands and feet, ready to take off. Swish. Yan Fengwu's slender and powerful thighs bent, then bounced up, bent over a graceful arc, and jumped over the bar. Under everyone's attention, the bar trembled a few times, and then fell down. Unfortunately, it's almost. The students in class 3 clenched their fists, and it was almost. Yan Fengwu stood up from the soft cushion, without any frustration, but looked at Yi Yu with burning eyes. It's your turn. Yi Yu stood in the middle of the vacated field, and the sunlight scattered on him, covering him with a dazzling glitter. Accelerate, step, jump. Yi Yu was like a golden carp leaping over the dragon gate, drawing a brilliant arc and leaping over the high bar. Yi Yu rolled over and stood up from the cushion, looked at the stunned classmates around, and said with a smile, "Why, isn't this achievement worthy of your cheers?" The students around with their jaws widened finally came back to their senses, and the sound of discussions drowned the space like a tide. I really skipped it. 2 meters 6. My God, I'm almost as tall as 2. How did he do it? Didn't you see him jumping over at that time? There is still a long way from the back to the crossbar. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Yan Fengwu looked at Yi Yu. Her eyes showed a more fiery luster, and then she gave Yi Yu a thumbs up. Come again. Next, Yi Yu and Yan Fengwu continued to compete in the long jump, hurdles, and the kilometer race. Not surprisingly, Yan Fengwu lost. You, don't you know how to make beautiful women? Be careful that beautiful women get angry. Yan Fengwu sat on the runway, handed Yi Yu a bottle of water, and said with a smile. Yi Yu looked at this energetic beauty, the sweat on her forehead added a bit of charm. If I let you, maybe you're really going to be angry. Ha ha ha. Yan Fengwu laughed loudly, stretched out her arms and blocked Yi Yu's neck. You know me well, cheers. Yi Yu raised the water bottle and bumped against Yan Fengwu. Why do your classmates call you Valkyrie? Yan Fengwu did not answer, but was silent for a moment, then looked at Yi Yu and asked, Are you a warrior? Yi Yu was stunned and shook his head. No, I have never practiced martial arts. Yan Fengwu's eyes flashed. It's hard to imagine that with your outstanding physical fitness, you have never practiced martial arts. I have loved sports since I was a child, and my physical quality and athletic talent are far superior to children of the same age. As I grow older, this talent becomes even more terrifying. Yan Fengwu hugged her knees and looked up into the distance. Among my peers, no one has ever beat me in sports. You are the first. Yan Fengwu looked at Yi Yu, smiled lightly and blinked her eyes. After I went to high school, I followed the physical education teacher Xingmeng to practice Bajikwan. Now my strength and speed have reached the limit of the human body. Yi Yu heard the words, looked up at Xingmeng lying on the bench in the distance, closed his eyes and rested. Xingmeng knows Bajikwan. Yan Fengwu nodded and said solemnly, yes. And he is also a second-grade blood-nourishing warrior. Yi Yu glanced at Xingmeng in amazement, but did not expect that the physical education teacher who saw the dragon without seeing the end was actually a master. Then why did he come here to be a physical education teacher? Yi Yu was a little curious about this martial arts master who was hiding in the school. Teacher, he was injured in his early years and has no hope of promotion, so he came here to be idle. Yan Fengwu said with some regret. If Xingmeng was not injured in his early years, he must be far more than a second-rank martial artist. Is it because you and Xingmeng practice Bajikwan that they call you Valkyrie? Yi Yu asked curiously. Yan Fengwu nodded. Because some classmates saw me practicing against the teacher, they called me Valkyrie. Yi Yu laughed, but the title of Valkyrie matched Yan Fengwu very well. Then you are so powerful that you can actually fight against second-rank warriors. No, it was I who defeated the teacher. Yan Fengwu's eyebrows were soaring, and she looked extraordinarily heroic. Yi Yu raised his brows, so fierce. Second-rank martial artist should be very powerful, right? How can you beat it? On the one hand, the teacher was injured and his strength fell, and on the other hand, it was because I was in an abnormal state during the battle. Then why did you tell me this? Yi Yu looked at Yan Fengwu, and a bad feeling suddenly rose in his heart. Yan Fengwu looked at Yi Yu with burning eyes, like a female leopard staring at its prey, because I really want to fight with you. I want you to fight with me. Yan Fengwu looked at Yi Yu solemnly and said firmly. Yi Yu's head was a little dazed, and this sudden engagement was a bit of a surprise. Why? Yan Fengwu looked at Yi Yu with a smile on the corner of her mouth. Because you surpass me in terms of strength, speed, and coordination, and I don't like someone above me. So you are going to defeat me in battle? Yi Yu looked at Yan Fengwu in disbelief. That's right. Yan Fengwu's smile grew even stronger. Yi Yu covered his face and felt a headache. This martial madman. Can I refuse? Yan Fengwu shook her head. No way. Yi Yu's face was embarrassed. he knew a set of radio gymnastics, and he was about to compete with others. Suddenly, he felt so panicked. Seeing Yi Yu's face, Yan Fengwu laughed and patted Yi Yu's shoulder. Don't worry, it's not now, it's when we all became warriors. Why are you so sure that I will become a warrior? Yan Fengwu tilted her head to look at Yi Yu. Her long ponytail fell on Yi Yu's shoulder. Don't you know? Yi Yu was stunned for a moment, then laughed. Yes, how could he refuse to become a martial artist? Yi Yu stood up, looked at the serious Yan Fengwu, and stretched out his hand to her. Okay, I promise you. Yan Fengwu and Yi Yu clapped their palms. That's it. In the classroom of Class 1 of Senior 3, Yi Yu sat down next to Han Shui. Han Shui was reading blankly at the moment, but seeing her confused eyes, she didn't seem to read it. Yi Yu reached out and touched Han Shui's shoulder. Han Shui, are you feeling better? Han Shui was startled. Oh, much better. Looking at Yi Yu, Han Shui pursed her lips, hesitated for a moment, and whispered, Yi Yu, what if? If I disappear one day, will you still remember me? Yi Yu turned his head and looked at Han Shui, feeling that something was wrong with her. Gone. Did you graduate from high school? Then we can keep in touch too. No, Han Shui bit her lip. Even if you won't see each other for a long time, and you won't be able to contact me, will you still remember me? Yi Yu looked at the hope in Han Shui's eyes, and felt inexplicably painful. Of course I will remember it, for a lifetime. Well, then it's settled. Han Shui nodded heavily, showing a smile again, like a snow lotus reunited with rain, dew and sunshine. After school, Yi Yu was about to leave the school when a shout behind him made Yi Yu stop. Mr. Xing. Yi Yu turned around, saw Xing Meng leaning against the wall, and greeted him. Is there something wrong with Teacher Xing? Yi Yu looked at the hidden warrior and asked suspiciously. Follow me. Xing Meng didn't answer, turned around and walked over to the school's playground. Yi Yu hesitated for a moment and followed, because Xing Meng should not be detrimental to him. Soon Yi Yu followed Xing Meng to the school playground. Is her? Yi Yu saw a person standing on the playground. It was Yan Fengwu. Teacher, how is it? Yan Fengwu greeted Xing Meng and asked aloud. Xing Meng nodded. Not bad, the specific situation has to be tested. Yi Yu was a little confused by the two of them. What the hell is going on? I asked Teacher Xing to call you here. Yan Fengwu looked at Yi Yu and said, don't you want to be a martial artist? Yi Yu nodded. Yes, do you want Teacher Xing to teach me? Mr. Xing Meng is a second-grade blood-nourishing martial artist. Under the teacher's guidance, it is enough for you to become a martial artist. Yan Fengwu said with a smile. Yi Yu nodded. If he wanted to become a warrior, Xing Meng was indeed the most suitable existence. Then what should I do? Yi Yu looked at Xing Meng and asked. Xing Meng didn't answer, but looked at Yi Yu with his eyes like electricity, and said in a deep voice. It's not that easy to become a warrior. Only by truly controlling your body can you unleash your potential, break the shackles of your body, and become a warrior. And if you want to truly master your own body, you can only practice martial arts. After Xing Meng finished speaking, a momentum suddenly surged above his body, and the air around him seemed to be heavier. Yi Yu nodded excitedly, a little eager to try. Then shall we start now? Xing Meng waved his hand, looked at the excited Yi Yu, and said with a smile, don't worry, I'll look at your foundation first. Yi Yu was a little puzzled. Basic. It's just a gesture first. When I practiced martial arts with my teacher, I played a set of long punches first. Standing by the side, Yan Fengwu remembered the first time she practiced martial arts with Xing Meng. Yi Yu scratched his head. Anything is fine. Xing Meng nodded. Yes, this is mainly to see how well your body is coordinated. Okay then. Yi Yu spread his legs apart, shoulder width apart, and raised his hands slowly. Stretching exercises, jumping motion, chest expansion, kick, question mark. A series of radio gymnastics made Xing Meng and Yan Fengwu stunned. Although the movements were a little different, this rhythm was obviously radio gymnastics. All right. Xing Meng hurriedly restrained Yi Yu, afraid that he would jump with him if he couldn't hold it. Mr. Xing, is my physical coordination okay? Yi Yu is actually a little regretful. The next step is serious action with abnormal difficulty level, but unfortunately he didn't show it. The corners of Xing Meng's mouth twitched. Although your movements are a bit cough, your body coordination is very good. Xing Meng didn't mean to praise him, and found that he had underestimated Yi Yu. With the physical coordination shown by Yi Yu, ordinary warriors were not as powerful as him. Then test strength and speed. Xing Meng continued. How to test? Yi Yu was interested. It seemed that this physical education teacher was quite professional. Xing Meng stretched out his hand and hooked it, and said with a smile, attack here. Hit me with all your strength. Seeing Yi Yu's hesitation, Xing Meng continued, don't have any doubts, you can't hurt me. Seeing this, Yi Yu moved his wrist, clenched his fist, and rushed towards Xing Meng. Boom, boom, boom. Yi Yu surrounded Xing Meng, and a fierce attack broke out, while Xing Meng stood on the spot and blocked Yi Yu's attack with a pair of palms. Although Yi Yu's attack was not methodical, his good body flexibility and coordination made his shoulders, elbows, knees and feet become weapons, and he slammed into Xing Meng frantically. At first Xing Meng still looked relaxed, but as time passed, Yi Yu's attack not only did not decrease, but became more violent. Yan Fengwu, who was on the side, was also shocked in her heart. She did not expect that Yi Yu had not practiced martial arts yet, so she could break out such a violent attack. As everyone knows, Xing Meng, who was attacked by low-grade Yi Yu, was even more shocked. With the increase in Yi Yu's attack frequency and the tingling pain in his palm, Xing Meng seemed to see a monster at this moment. Especially his stamina and explosiveness are no less than that of Yan Fengwu, who has a special bloodline, which is terrifying. What shocked Xing Meng even more was that Yi Yu's hand was filled with a hint of sharpness, like a sharp sword unsheathed, about to burst into a dazzling brilliance. Stop! Xing Meng shouted loudly, and Yi Yu, who was attacking like splashing ink, stopped. Xing Meng put his hands behind his back and looked at Yi Yu a little unnaturally. Enough is enough, I already know your specific situation. Yi Yu looked at Xing Meng with a bit of resentment. I haven't fought enough yet, why did I stop? Xing Meng ignored Yi Yu's eyes, quietly rubbed his sore hands, and coughed dryly. It can be said that your physical fitness is very good. Xing Meng secretly complained in his heart, this is very good, this is very perverted. Xing Meng has never seen an ordinary person with a strong body like Yi Yu. Yi Yu rubbed his hands and said regretfully, this is the end. I still have moves that I haven't used yet. Haha, what else? Xing Meng laughed, looking at Yi Yu who was still unwilling, and said, if you have any other moves, just use them. Yi Yu's eyes lit up, and he looked at Xing Meng with joy, really? Xing Meng is a little funny, you are an ordinary high school student, although you are physically strong, what kind of moves can you have? Relying on your radio gymnastics just now. Come on, let me see your moves. Xing Meng looked at Yi Yu casually, not taking Yi Yu's words to heart. Yi Yu put his right hand in his trouser pocket, took out a playing card and put it between his fingers, looking at Xing Meng with a solemn expression, Mr. Xing, be careful. I have never shot with all my strength. Xing Meng was somewhat amused. Haha, go all out, I want to see how powerful I can be, take a step back and count me as a loser. Yan Fengwu, who was on the side, also giggled, Student Yi Yu, you are holding a poker card and you want to win the teacher, right? You too underestimate the second-grade blood-nourishing martial artist. Yi Yu didn't answer, but put all his mind on the playing cards between his fingers. After a while, a faint sharpness radiated from Yi Yu's body. In a trance, the playing cards between Yi Yu's fingers slightly light up. Whoosh! Yan Fengwu on the side was stunned for a moment, and before she could react, the playing cards between Yi Yu's fingers had disappeared. Whoa! There seemed to be a sound of the river slapping the bank, and then it disappeared. Yan Fengwu glanced at Xing Meng in amazement. Yi Yu's attack was so powerful that it forced Xing Meng to carry the power of qi and blood. It is good! Xing Meng shouted loudly, raised his brows, looked at Yi Yu with a deep look, as if seeing him for the first time. Good power. Xing Meng clasped his hands together and stood in front of him, and what was sandwiched between his palms were the playing cards shot by Yi Yufei. Xing Meng let go of his hands, put his back behind him, and let the playing cards fall on the playground. Looking at Yi Yu, he exclaimed, I didn't expect you to give me such a surprise. What a flying card technique, it is really powerful. Mr. Xing is even more powerful. He took this blow so easily. Yi Yu smiled embarrassedly, his flying card skills were still not threatening to Xing Meng. Tick-tock, Neither Yi Yu nor Yan Fengwu noticed that on the palm of Xing Meng's back, a drop of scarlet blood, like a gem, fell on the ground along his fingertips. Yi Yu and Yan Fengwu didn't know, but Xing Meng knew in his heart that he almost couldn't take Yi Yu's blow just now. And even if he took Yi Yu's blow, his hands were also injured. Even if he didn't look at it, Xing Meng knew that the palms of his hands were already crisscrossed with 7 or 8 scars, as if what he had just caught was not a playing card, but a sharp sword. Strictly speaking, Xing Meng has already lost. Feeling the wound on his palm, Xing Meng restrained his qi and blood to prevent the blood from continuing to flow out of the wound. Fortunately, they didn't know, otherwise where would they put their face? Xing Meng glanced at Yi Yu and Yan Fengwu fortunately, and breathed a sigh of relief. Yi Yu, I'm very curious about how you came up with this flying card technique. Xing Meng asked Yi Yu, such a powerful flying card is not easy. You said this. Yi Yu thought for a while, and then said, I have loved playing poker since I was a child, so I have always practiced. Yi Yu can only explain to Xing Meng like this, it can't be said that it was drawn by lottery. Xing Meng nodded and didn't go any further. Looking at Yi Yu, he said jokingly, so, I almost thought you were a member of the Tang sect. Tangman, Yi Yu asked curiously, this was the second time he heard the name Tangman. Xing Meng raised his head, looked at the crescent moon rising in the sky, and said retrospectively, Tangman is the name of a martial arts family, very powerful. Tang sect is very famous in the martial arts world. The people in its sect are especially good at swordsmanship and hidden weapon techniques. One-handed hidden weapons can be said to be shocking. When Yan Fengwu heard what Xing Meng said, she pouted, is it really as powerful as you said? Xing Meng opened his eyes slightly, stared at Yan Fengwu, and said in a heavy tone, Fengwu, don't underestimate Tangmen, they are very difficult and tricky existences. Then Xing Meng turned his gaze to Yi Yu and said with admiration, Yi Yu, if you continue to practice your flying card skills, you will not be weaker than Tangmen's hidden weapons. Yi Yu didn't think about this, because Tangmen was too far away from Yi Yu, and now Yi Yu was thinking about how to become a warrior. Mr. Xing, if you want to become a martial artist, you are just like Yan Fengwu. Do you practice Bajikwan with you? Hearing Yi Yu's question, Xing Meng nodded and said, yes, I have accepted Yan Fengwu as my apprentice. It has been 3 years now, and now Fengwu is not far from the martial artist. Yan Fengwu stood aside, raised her head, very proud, and looked at Yi Yu, as if she was saying, when I become a warrior, I will beat you to the ground. Then I want to be like Yan Fengwu, do I worship you as my teacher? Yi Yu looked at Xing Meng and said. Yan Fengwu heard the words, her eyes lit up and she looked at Yi Yu excitedly. If Yi Yu also worshipped Xing Meng as a teacher, wouldn't she be his senior sister? Yan Fengwu looked at Yi Yu and laughed, haha, that's not right, little junior brother. Xing Meng pondered for a moment, looked at Yi Yu, and shook his head, no, you don't need to take me as your teacher. Yan Fengwu's smile stopped, and she looked at Xing Meng dissatisfiedly, Master, why? Xing Meng looked at Yi Yu and said, although I also hope to accept you as my apprentice, I can't waste such a piece of jade. You are different from Fengwu. Bajikwan is just the beginning of the foundation for you. When you become a martial artist, I will introduce you to my uncle. Master uncle, Yan Fengwu asked curiously, she didn't even know that she also had a master uncle. Xing Meng looked at Yan Fengwu, well, your uncle is a master of kendo. Without waiting for Yi Yu to ask, Xing Meng continued, now what I teach you is Bajikwan. It's also the boxing technique I have been practicing. When Yu Tai Chi secures the world, and Wu Yu Tai Chi sets the world. This Baji refers to Bajikwan. Bajikwan is simple in movements, and its action is strong and fast. It is 2 parts of the world with Taijikwan. Xing Meng built the foundation with Bajikwan. He has been immersed in Bajikwan for a long time and has a deep understanding. It is natural to teach Yi Yu. Then on the playground, Xing Meng began to teach Yi Yu the essentials of Bajikwan movements and the method of breathing, and began a formal practice. As time passed, it was getting late. Xing Meng stopped Yi Yu and Yan Fengwu who were in contact. Okay, it's getting late, let's be here today. Xing Meng stopped the 2 of them and said to Yi Yu, the school playground is surrounded by teaching buildings, and it is difficult for outsiders to see it. After school, you all have to practice martial arts with me here, and strive to reach the first rank skin level martial artist as soon as possible. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.